Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm your host, Jed Brown, founder of Low Season Traveller, and this week we're joined by Yolanda Lopez Bueno, who first visited Ireland 12 years ago and fell so much in love with the country that she never left. Yolanda recently set up her own travel company, which specialises in bringing her guests to the lesser-known parts of Ireland, which can often be overlooked. I'm constantly amazed by the number of people I meet who believe that A, if you've been to Dublin, you've done Ireland, and B, if you've done the Ring of Kerry, Cliffs of Moher and Dublin, then you've done it all. So sit back, relax, and let us bring you on a journey to the lesser-known parts of this wonderfully charming country. Enjoy. So a very good afternoon, Yolanda, and welcome to the Low Season Traveller podcast. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Ed, for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, Yolanda, your company, aroundireland.ie, get the website right.
Yes.
I was absolutely intrigued when I first came across your company and your website. I came across it, I think it was in relation to an article that you'd written about Undiscovered Ireland. And it really appealed to me immediately because so many people think that they know Ireland because, and I'm quoting, they've been to Dublin once for a weekend, so they figure they've done Ireland. And I've travelled to Ireland a few times, as I said to you off air, and I sort of get immediately that so many people are missing out so much. And another reason that I wanted to speak to you as well about these other undiscovered parts of Ireland is being in the travel industry for, 25 years, I've been a part of different webinars recently during this coronavirus lockdown that we're currently in. And we all know that the first segment of the travel market that's going to recover is domestic and very, very short haul. That's where people are going to be traveling to first, which is a great opportunity for the whole of the island of Ireland, actually, to have the British coming over, that those Brits that might not be traveling further afield as we emerge from the lockdown. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea for your organization and a little bit about what you guys do?
Okay. So around Ireland, came I started the idea last year, actually. So we are very recent. And as you were saying, like it amazed to me that here in Ireland, for example, there are a lot of companies that take you to the most common places like, Kerry or Cliffs of Moher, Galway, Cork. But there are so many beautiful and covered places that you can get for a day tour, for example, in 2-3 hours. And, it's, and they don't cover that. So I thought, well, maybe there is a niche here, for the big people, for the big public to maybe, to create these tours from Dublin and actually create a great experience with, the Irish tour guide, of course, and just to discover different parts of Ireland that are not as known.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many destinations in Ireland, and
yeah,
it does
exactly.
it struck me, like obviously it struck you, and it's just so, when things are pointed out, it's so obvious. But for years, I've always known, and I've seen the tour companies, and it's Dublin, it's Cork, it's Kerry, it's the Cliffs of Moher, maybe
Giant
Galway,
Causeway, yeah.
and it's like, I always think of it a little bit like the United States of America. We know that there's New York and Florida on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We know there's California on the West Coast, and we're vaguely aware that there's a whole load of stuff in the middle, but we don't really know what's there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I kind of think that that's a little bit like Ireland. There is so much in the middle, actually, and along the coast, the rest of the coast as well. And people just don't know about it. I mean, is that your experience? Do people just not have a clue as to really what's on offer there?
I think so, and this this idea, started to be like my business idea because my background is from marketing, and I thought, well, so what if we put packages that, for example, places like Derry, in my case, I think that's a place that it's it's amazing.
Wonderful
It's full
city.
of history. It's a lovely city, and in the middle you can stop in to see, for example, the St. Patrick's Cathedral in Armagh. Like you can you can build really nice routes, and in 3 hours you discover like hidden gems. So yeah, that is the idea, that to discover different places. And to be honest, I am in love with Ireland. I'm from Spain originally, but the first time I of course my first my first point of contact with Ireland was Dublin, and then from there I went to the cliffs of Moher, to Kerry, Killarney, and all that. But as soon as I started to travel more, I discovered that it's a lovely country, that the most you discover and get to know these small towns with lovely people, the communities, these little shops, these castles that you discover that are amazing, and they are not in the normal track that you would follow. So yeah, that is the idea.
And of course, as you mentioned there, everybody is so friendly. And I've got to give a shout out to Derry as well. I was speaking with my mother recently, who's originally from Carlow, and
Okay.
she's travelled all around Ireland. And I said, look, we should go away somewhere in Ireland, somewhere different that you haven't been to. And I said, is there anywhere that you haven't been to? She said, well, I've never been to Derry. Now, I've been to Derry a couple of times, and I've got very good friends in Derry.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, wonderful city Derry is, and
It
the
is.
friendliest people that you would ever possibly meet.
It
And
is.
again, so few people, seemingly that I know, have actually been to Derry or have made that sort of discovery. They might have been to Belfast if they've gone to the north. They might have even been to Donegal, but they haven't gone to Derry. And I think, gosh, like you were saying, the history there. And actually, just outside of Derry, there's some sort of old forts, I think, right?
Yeah. And and it's the only walled city, like in Ireland.
Yeah,
So, for
absolutely.
example. So
Absolutely.
yeah, no,
So
I
is
think,
that one of your more popular kind of tours then, Derry? What are your popular tours at the moment? What are the ones that you?
well, like we have 6 tours, like six routes that we have built, like a fixed destination, but we built any, like, depending on the customer and the idea that they want, if they want to go to the north, to the south, to the west, or so we build the idea. But for example, there is one, we go as well to Wexford. The Hook lighthouse in Wexford is amazing too. It's one of
wow.
It's one of the places that, yeah, I fell in love the moment that I went. I have been in winter, which is wild, and but in summer with a sunny day can be lovely too. So that's another one. So we go to Sligo, which is Sligo. It's the place where the author, the writer Yeats was born.
Yeah.
And we go there too, and yeah, it's a lovely place. We go to Strandhill Beach, which is one of the places that people go to do surf, for example.
Yeah.
It's a very small town, but is super, is very nice. Yeah, so I don't have now in my mind that, like, the 6 of it,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, so but you have an idea. So we try to cover, not very like, we want as well to have to be in places that people actually would recognize and have some value, some cultural value. And then of course they can have a coffee and that, and also thinking in winter time, because summertime is brilliant, and if you have a good day, that's fantastic, and we can have a hike and have a nice walk. But in winter, for example, if you have a very awful day, in as a weather can be in Ireland too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, exactly. So we need to have a plan B,
Yeah.
always like to, to have a good castle and a guided tour, and then a warm tea or coffee to have, or,
As they
so
say, it never rains in the pubs.
exactly, yeah.
You can always have a nice,
And
warm, cozy fire and a hot whiskey, hey?
exactly, and of course it's part of the, of the charm that you go to a very nice, Irish pub, and you can have a, a concert, Irish music, or Irish dance or something. That's also part of the fun, no?
Absolutely. Do many people, is that one of the key parts for their itineraries, that they want to have a traditional Irish music, a taste of that in any of the pubs that they go to as well?
Oh yeah, of course. Like people always say, "Anne, could it's on the route that we are going to stop." And if it's daytime, sometimes we don't get the Irish music sometimes, but you get the atmosphere anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, we try to cover that. If it's a day tour, we try to have the little. The little moments, like the Irish pub, for either have a lunch or a coffee or something, um, as as well as cover nature, wild nature, some culture in a castle that we are visiting, or yeah.
I love that. And I suppose that the difference is that when you're traveling to, smaller towns and villages that are a little bit more off the beaten track in Ireland,
Yeah,
the chances are when you go to that pub or that cafe and you have that traditional music session, it's probably less touristy as a result. There are
yeah,
less tourists and more locals, and more of a chance
yeah,
for local interaction, which, you're not going to get that in Temple Bar. We all know
exactly,
there's hardly anybody Irish in Temple Bar. You can have the trad music, but it's not really a traditional session. But when you
yeah,
go to the, I want to call it the outback. I know that's Australia, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. When you go to the outback and to these smaller towns, you're really, I think, getting under the skin of the Irish culture a little bit more.
exactly, yeah. So
Fantastic.
that's the idea. So that at the end of the day, if it's a day tour, because we do multi day tours as well. But if it's a day tour, sometimes in a 10-hour day or 12 hours, like if it's a longer trip, it's a lot to concentrate. But at the end of the day, like people tell us, oh, that was fantastic, that we saw like we felt a lot of things in one day. So
Very good. And in terms of the lengths of the tours that you guys do, are they day trips? Do you have longer than day trips? What kind of length of tours do you have?
So at the moment we are doing day trips, like that's the package, for example, we have in our website, but we are doing multi-day tours. For example, if there is a family or a group of friends that are coming, so we project manage the whole plan. So we ask them some questions, like what would you like to cover, because some people, for example, want maybe to go to Iron Island. So to go to Iron Island, and they want to spend there like 2-3 days. So we build the whole route for them depending on the days they have, what parts they want to cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can like build the route from scratch as well.
Yeah, the Aran Islands are just something else. That's another part of the country that I think the
Yeah.
Irish tend to go there quite a lot, but I'm not so sure um, whether a lot of the mainstream tourists go. I've only been once, and I can tell you the weather was awful.
I know,
But
yeah.
there was it just so happened
It's
that there was
not a place maybe to cover in winter, but
yeah, well, we went in winter. We went in winter.
yeah,
The
yeah.
only the only the only way we got lucky, Yolanda, was quite by chance. There was a trad music festival,
Okay,
which was
yeah.
meant to be in the summer, and it had been postponed. And so we,
Okay.
we didn't realize this at all. So we got over there for the weekend, and it turns on
Super
that there's
lucky.
this trad music session. So I think on Inishmore there's maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 pubs max. And
Yeah.
once the last boat has gone, that's it. It's whoever's on the island is on the island, and whoever isn't isn't. And what you found is that you'd go to a pub, and all of this traditional music would be going on. People would just turn up, bring out a guitar,
These
start
jam
playing.
sessions.
Jam sessions. Oh, just what?
Yeah.
Just not planned. Just people turn up with an instrument and they would just start joining in. And then you would find that you'd move to another pub and it's the same people, roughly speaking, that you're bumping into again and again. It was just absolutely wonderful. And I love the fact that, anybody could just stand up and start singing and joining in if they knew any of the songs. And what I loved especially was that the whole pub would, apart from that, be silent. They would always respect the musicians and respect the singers, which I just thought was so charming, utterly charming, really.
It caught my attention as well. First time I was in Ireland, that like they have a special connection with the music and that, no, that like everybody. I remember, for example, one of my first visits here in Dublin was to Cobblestone, which is a pub that is in Smithfield, and it's of traditional music as well. And I couldn't, I come from Madrid, so it's not a small city, but yeah, I was amazed, like people just joining all of a sudden, and they created this beautiful music at the end,
That's phenomenal.
And they were just adding new people, and then maybe in the end there were like 20, and this rhythm was amazing, and I was like, this is brilliant.
It just works. I remember one guy rocked up. He was a Greek guy randomly, and he had a bouzouki. These Greek bouzouki, huge stringed instruments, and he takes that out, and he managed to join in as well. It was Irish music, but he managed to join in as well. It's just utterly wonderful. Absolutely love the Aran Islands, and to all of our listeners out there, would highly recommend a trip to the Aran Islands. Although I would imagine that that spring and summer is probably a better time to go than the winter. But that said, what I will say with Ireland is, even in the winter time, there's a coziness when the weather is blowing a gale, and when you do then come in and you have a hot whiskey and there's an open fire there in the hearth, there's something special about that as well. Even with and we don't in Ireland, the winters aren't really that bad. They're not like Norway or anywhere like that, are they? They're relatively mild. It's wet. There's gonna be rain.
Yeah, that's the problem. That some people, if they are not used to like this wind and the they might be like, well, we prefer if we don't walk this hike that we were planning or something. Like, oh, that's fine. So we do a plan B for that.
Yeah.
But it's true that it's not super. It's not a hard winter, but it can be rough sometimes. Like this winter, for example, has been very windy, and I remember one day we went to Sligo and it was, oh my God, like. They were like, oh, can we go just to this place that we were planning? Oh my God, it's a pity, because one of the places that we wanted to go was the Devil's Chimney, which is one of the biggest waterfall in Sligo. Well, actually, it's County Leitrim already, but the weather was awful, so the group decided not to go. So we just, in the end, we just need to adapt to what people really want to do, right?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? That said, again, I've had some pretty miserable weather in the summer before in Ireland. I went with my wife and 2 young daughters. Gosh, it was about 5 or 6 years ago now, and we decided we were going to do 2 weeks in Ireland, travel around a little bit. I think we had a cottage in Barley Cove Beach down in Kerry, which again, for our listeners out there, is the most beautiful beach. If you had a sunny day, and in the summer it would be it'd be paradise. You wouldn't believe that you were in Ireland. But we were there for 14 days, Yolanda. 13 were a washout. I know. What can you do? What can you do? And the irony is, the year before it was dry and sunny, that particular fortnight. The year after it was dry and sunny. Just bad luck. But you can't plan. I think you have to be lucky. You have to take a chance on Ireland, and it will hopefully reward you rather than punish you.
Exactly, and the good thing about Ireland is that in one day you can have different weathers. So you can have rain in the morning, maybe some sun in the afternoon. So
I was
it's true that,
just very unlucky. We were just very unlucky that particular year.
yeah.
Most
So I don't
times when you go, you have a mixture. You're going to have the sunny days. You're going to have a bit of rain. You take the rough with the
exactly.
smooth, I think.
I don't think people come here for the weather for sure.
Oh God, no, God, no.
But yeah, so it's true that they have to be prepared for everything. Like the shoes have to be the proper ones, like different layers. I always say to the customers, please bring different layers, hood as well. So yeah.
Very good. So what would be, what are you've been in Ireland for a few years now, you've set up your own organization. What are your personal favorite highlights or destinations within Ireland?
Well, in my case, as I was saying at the beginning, like for example, I found that the north is really, really interesting. Like I really liked it. And there is one of my favorite cities, for example. But like nature, which I love Dublin, but I wouldn't say that Dublin represents like Ireland at all. Like Dublin, for example, has Wicklow, which is they call the Garden of Ireland, because it's brilliant and it's just 30 minutes out of like from Dublin. But if you leave Dublin, like Sligo is one of my favorite places as well. Like you have beach and Dingle is beautiful as well. County Mayo is beautiful. It's maybe not so well known as well. Like it's a county that is not so traveled either. But yeah, I don't know. I could call is lovely too. I mean, Wexford, Waterford. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't decide, but
there's just so much there's just so much choice, isn't there? And I think every time you go to Ireland, you could discover more places, and there'll still be places that you haven't been to. It always makes me laugh. We talk about Australia and the United States as being places that you could travel all your life and you still wouldn't see everything. And I think that we tend to think of the smaller destinations like the UK and Ireland to a degree. That really you can do it in 2 weeks or whatever. You're still only going to see a fraction of all there is to see, which is a good point.
Well, it happens the same with Spain, for example. I am from Spain, and another line of business that I am developing as well is to show at least I'm working with the Irish at the moment. But the idea is to bring the tourists to as well the same concept, to the hidden gems of Spain as well, because of course everybody knows the coast, which is brilliant, and that Barcelona, Madrid. But for example, Madrid has like a lot of culture and coziness that people really don't get it. That when you just go as a normal tourist. So we want to just work the same concept with around Ireland, but around Spain. So yeah, that's.
Oh, I love it. We'll be watching out for that. I'd love to know about that. I absolutely, I adore Spain. I've done a lot of work in Valencia before, and we did a podcast on Valencia with Turismo Valencia.
Yeah, I was listening.
But Valencia for me is one of the greatest hidden gems, and we say it's a hidden. It's the third largest city in Spain, but so few people, certainly in the UK, so few people have been to Valencia, and it blows you away when you go there. One of the most beautiful cities, beautiful stretch of beach as well.
Yeah.
It's got so much going for it.
And the quality of life, the weather, the food, the people is amazing.
Wonderful.
I completely agree. Yeah.
But I agree. I think that would be wonderful actually, because there's so many parts of Spain that, like you say, are just breathtakingly beautiful. But you need to get outside of the Barcelonas and the city centers, and go out and explore it for yourself. So at the moment, obviously, we're just sort of coming to, I guess it's the peak season. Am I right? Summer months would be the peak season for Ireland. When do we move into the lower season months? for Ireland? Is it autumn, or is it actually winter is more the low season?
Yeah, I would say here in Ireland it starts in October, 1st of November. As the weather goes, like start to gets a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Then we have another peak, a good peak in Christmas time.
Yeah.
Because we have they have been working as well with, we are not experts, or maybe it's not our thing here in Ireland with the Christmas market, for example, as you can have in the UK, in London is beautiful as well, or in Germany, or in some other cities in Europe. But they have, like in Belfast is a very nice Christmas market. In Dublin recently they started as well. So we have in Christmas as well some tourism, and then from before St. Patrick's, then it starts again like the season. And so I would say like it's not a very, very low season, maybe from November to February.
Yep.
And then from March to the end of October would be maybe, with different peaks.
Yep.
And of course, summer, it would be the high season. Yep. But like it will always be, because some people come here to Ireland avoiding the hot summers, for example. That's what happened to me first time I came like 15 years ago, avoiding the hot summer in Spain, in Madrid, which we don't have any, any sea, like was only the swimming pool or air conditioning. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get 15 degrees. I was so happy here wearing my jacket
Ireland.
And my raincoat, it was like, oh, I love this. So yeah, there is tourism for everybody. So here people, I don't think they come to Ireland for the weather. So they know that if they come in November, of course, you always give the tips like, okay, this weather would be like, so you need to bring this kind of clothes and that. But I think people enjoy anyway.
Yeah. I think I think people come for the history, the architecture, the natural beauty, the crack,
the heritage,
the heritage. That's all the stuff they come for. I think and I've always said to people in the past, if you get fine weather, well, that's a nice bonus. Yeah. But don't ever expect it. Don't ever expect it. If you expect it, you won't get it. Exactly. You have to be very, very lucky. Super. Well, listen, Yolanda, I think we're at the end of our time. I want to thank you so much for joining us on this podcast, and hopefully that's given our listeners a lot to think about. Obviously, we would encourage them to go onto your website to see the kind of tours that you are featuring at the moment, which is aroundireland.ie. And of course, they'll be able to book there as well. And we'll make sure that we put links alongside this podcast when we share it out as well. And we'll get it obviously put on the lowseasontraveler.com website when that goes out as well. But I wish you all the very best. Wish you all the very best for the rest of the lockdown. I hope it doesn't last too much longer. And hopefully next time I'll see you face to face, maybe in Dublin or somewhere else, maybe Sligo.
That would be lovely. Yeah, thank you very much.
So there you have it. Huge thanks again to Yolanda for giving us her time this week. And please do check out her website, aroundireland.ie, to learn more about the types of tours and experiences which can be enjoyed during the low season months. And you can also learn more about the other hidden gems of Ireland too. Thanks for your company this week, and if you haven't already done so, please do sign up to receive our latest updates on lowseasontraveler.com. And then you'll be among the first to experience the world's first low-season dedicated travel website, perfect for inspiration as we wait and dream of future travels. Have a great week, stay healthy, stay safe, stay home, and don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. Our content will always be free for everyone, as we believe that travel is better without the crowds.